Welcome to Horror Movie Massacre. Tonight, we're taking a break from doing a single episode for every single franchise, and we're going to talk about the Exorcist movies a little bit because there's a new one coming out October 13th, I believe. And why not rank these in one episode, clean, fast, efficient? And yeah, so we want to hear how you feel about these. We're going to give our rankings. We'll show off the Horror Syndicate follower rankings from our 5-star ratings we've been doing all year. And yeah, and then of course we've got our shared rankings of each movie. So if you're not familiar with The Exorcist, I'm confused. It's one of the most notable horror movies of all time. This is the new cover art for the Blu-ray or something, or 4K. It doesn't look very good. They got rid of the iconic Father Merrin, but we're talking about The Exorcist, of course, from 1973. The Heretic, the second movie, which I actually really like, and a lot of people hate it, and I understand why they hate it. The Exorcist III, of course. Uh, the Beginning, which is the second prequel, and then Dominion, which is the better of the two. But if you didn't know, there was I guess it was a failed Fox show called The Exorcist. It's actually quite good. I definitely recommend checking it out. Gina Davis is in it, and I quite liked it. I think it did 2 seasons, but I guess it didn't do enough. Fox has a problem with shows. I think they get these shows and they don't do well, and they just dismiss them instead of giving them a chance to breathe. And then, of course, the new movie that's going to be part of a trilogy, Believer, which is coming out to October. So, yeah, we're gonna talk about the first 5 movies, and then that's pretty much it. And as with me as usual is Seth Miller. Seth, what's happening? Okay.
What's
So,
up?
well, we got Sean Sheridan, of course, chiming in really early. He says, Exorcist never seen 2 or the prequels. Either heard they are all dog crap. Exorcist is a classic. But to use a British term, demon possession movie, not my cup of tea, so no desire to watch it again. I like Exorcist 3, both cuts. Brad Dourif gives best performance of his career. Uh, I like number 2. So do I. Good evening. And what's to rank? There's one great film, one good, and you're probably right. Justin Bevan, everyone. This guy has been following the Horror Syndicate for so long, and he has the most divisive comments of all time. Love it. Ah, Justin. Finally, we meet somewhat face to face. Anyway, we rank all the movies. We love to rank stuff, so we're gonna rank it. Seth, you are not a big fan of these movies, but you do have a fondness for 3. What is it about the second or the first movie that really just doesn't do it for you? Like, why are you not as into it as most people?
Uh, well, I mean, I'm not saying this to be like an edge lord or anything like that, but I've never been as in love with the original movie. I think it's a really good movie. It's a really well made movie. It's got a good story. I particularly like Jason Miller as Father Karras, and I like his whole story. And there's a lot of really good stuff to it. It's not a personal favorite of mine. Typically, if I'm in the mood for one of these movies, I go with part 3. That's the more entertaining one to me. But it's just my own personal opinion. I'm not really huge on demonic possession stuff unless they go really hard, like Evil Dead or demons, stuff like that. Then I can really get into that type. But typically, demon possession stuff, I don't believe in that, so it doesn't. It's not scary, and it's kind of boring to me a little bit. But I mean,
I
I
think
do like 2 out of the 5 of these movies a lot.
I do think that my biggest thing. I'm an atheist straight up. I don't believe in God or the devil or demonic possession or any of that stuff. But I think the thing I like
Yeah.
is that other people do. And there are so many people out there that believe in you know the Lord, that stuff like this, could be a thing. By the way, I've visited the house that the original actual Exorcist that the book is actually based on, not too long ago. I've seen it, brick and mortar, everything. It's just a house. But like I don't know, there growing up, I did believe in God and I did believe in all this different stuff, so it had an effect on me. Just like movies like the Amityville Horror. But now part of me watches it because it's just I like the story. There's the history, the good and evil aspect of it, and just a really good, well-made movie. And I really like what happens to Reagan and all the shit she says. Like your mother sucks cocks in hell. I lived in an apartment building once where I yelled that through the hallway, and all these people just poked their heads out. What was that? And just let Jesus fuck you, just shit like that. And it's an extreme movie. My son says The Exorcist is one of the most boring movies of all time. So I don't know. Everybody has their own opinions, but it is universally known as one of the scariest films of all time. I think possession films are the scariest for me. Everybody's got something different. I know Seth is partial to home invasion films. Um, I think I'm just a huge slasher fan more than anything. I do like a good ghost story, even though I also don't believe in ghosts. But I like the idea of them. So I don't know. I don't know. I like my spines to be tingles. Anyway, so first thing I want to do, Seth, is read this comment.
I,
One is iconic. It's
I
often
would
go ahead.
I would say it's not that I'm like I'm sorry. I think I fucking delay. I would just say I'm not partial to home invasion films so much, but the concept of home invasion scares me much more than demonic possession. Those type of films can get to me more than possession films can get to me.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I meant. Glenn from Death Curse Society checks in and says, I think three is the only one that comes close to the OG. Glenn, you're not going to find too much disagreement here. We're going to get into a couple things with three and two, and actually the prequels, because lots of studio interference in those four movies. Where the first one, I mean, there's probably another cut of two somewhere, and the first one obviously has two cuts. There's two cuts of three where there could also be three because there's like missing film print. There's all kinds of stuff, man. It's crazy. So yeah, and if you don't know the Death Curse Society, check them out. Death Curse Society on YouTube, Facebook. They do all kinds of good stuff. Yes.
Good
Sean
people.
Sheridan says two words. Why don't they like demon possession? Same as found footage, cheap movies, cheap jump scares. I'm not sure. I want to go back to this because I didn't get to read it all the way. It's often imitated and nothing lives up to it. I get how it's kind of boring, but chalk it up to mood and artistry, atmosphere as well. And it does work for me. It does still work for me too. There's a lot of good stuff in The Exorcist. The religious stuff doesn't mean squat to me, but I heard as many legends about this as Marilyn Manson growing up in the Bible Belt. Yeah, or Charlie Manson for that matter. Yeah, I same thing. There's like I grew up with these people who were Baptist fanatics and Pentecostal fanatics, and telling me I'm going to go to hell when I got my ears pierced. I had four earrings, two in each ear, little hoops. Girls found it sexy, so I was all for it. But I had these Pentecostals go, "You're going to go to hell. You're defiling your body, which is a temple for God." And I'm like, okay, if you need something to believe in, I'm not gonna bother you. That, but I don't want to get into that stuff because it's kind of ridiculous. I will say I think I find enjoyment in all four of these movies for the most part. If I say four, I mean the first three in Dominion because the beginning is awful. It's the worst. And Seth, you got to watch both of them recently, didn't you? What did you think of the two prequels? Which one did you prefer?
Yes. So like I watched the beginning in the theater when it first came out, and
Me
I
too.
saw I think a couple of times. So I went with a couple different friends, and back then I didn't mind it. I thought it was all right, but Dominion I never saw until the other day. I watched it for the first time, and I the way I did it was I watched the beginning right after, so I watched both of them back to back, and it was kind of interesting because while doing that, I got about halfway through the beginning, and I'm like, I don't know if I just want to keep going because I don't know,
That
like
happened to me last night.
it changed my whole yeah it just changed like my whole perspective of the beginning because I
Mhm.
think Dominion is the better version of that
Yes.
story. I think it's the more well well put together version of that story. Like the beginning is like the fast food version, whereas Dominion is like the one where at least they're trying to put in effort to do a good movie.
Yeah, that's really well put. I heard of the Dominion situation going into seeing the beginning in the theater because back in 2004 I was all exercised, and I love the original movie, and I had just discovered two, and just despite what everybody says about it, it's batshit crazy, and I love it. The trailer, by the way, if you have not seen the Exorcist, the Heretic trailer, watch it. It's fucking nuts. It sums up the movie perfectly. But I don't know. As soon as I heard that they were going to release Dominion, I was hoping they'd show it in the theaters around here. They did not, but I did get my hands on a copy on DVD, and I liked it quite a bit compared to the original. I don't like really either of them very much to say,
Yeah.
but I love the way that Dominion opens with the Nazi camp and um,
Mhm.
versus the battlefield of Romans, and on inverted crosses and all that. I found that really weird, and not in a good way. But so what I'm going to do before we really start getting into it is we did the 5-star rating system as we've been doing all year, and I have your scores, which I posted on the Facebook page earlier. But anybody who's not on Facebook, here is how they rate and rank. So you see the Exorcist at 94%, meaning that our followers give it an average score of 94%. The Exorcist 3 at 84%. The Exorcist, the beginning, 52, Dominion 51. And the thing about Dominion is it only got 79 rates, which means it's extremely underviewed and probably a little underappreciated. It's available on, I believe, Peacock and YouTube to view. Check it out if you haven't. And of course, Exorcist the Heretic, 44%. I get it. Nobody likes that movie. I like it. Seth, what do you think about these ratings?
Well, I was gonna say I was surprised that the beginning had a higher rating than Dominion, but since you explained that it had a low follower count, I guess it makes sense why it only got 51.
Yeah. And I think that's pretty decent because they're right there, 51 and 52%.
Yeah,
I did write an article on the horrorsyndicate.com about Dominion and why it was basically Paul Schrader was brought in to direct. Did you know Tommy McLaughlin was going to direct this original? He directed, of course, Jason Lives. He was brought in to do it. Had some disagreements over the script, so he left. They brought in another director whose health was failing, who I forget his name. They brought in Paul Schrader. They said his movie didn't have enough. It wasn't scary enough, and it didn't have enough gore and blood. So they just reshot the entire movie, recast everyone except for Lancaster Marin. They kept Stellan Skarsgård, which was good. And originally it was supposed to be
yeah,
Liam Neeson, and they reshot it, and it did very poorly at the box office and wasn't really well received with critics. So Paul Schrader and Blatty saw it in the theater opening night, and were happy that it was shitty and said good maybe, and Paul Schrader said good maybe my movie will see the light of day, and it did about a year later. So that's breaking that whole article I wrote down into a couple of sentences. But the making of these movies are all have interesting stories behind them for the most part. Even their original movie, which supposedly is cursed. Now, do you believe in a curse of The Exorcist, Seth?
No,
No.
I don't
Let
believe in
me.
any of that stuff.
No. Which is funny.
And
We
the
just
thing,
go ahead, man.
I was going to say, the thing with that is like it's actually kind of brilliantly mentioned in the original film too, when Karis is talking to Chris McNeil, and she's asking for an exorcism, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, he's explaining to her that they don't really do them anymore because you know there's been advancements in medicine and understanding of mental
Mm-hmm.
illness, stuff like that,
Yes.
and all the stuff about demonic possessions, werewolves, vampires, that all those superstitions come from the way old days when we didn't really know much, you know especially about mental illnesses and stuff like that. So it's like it's sort of like a carryover from the old times. But
Yeah.
I mean, obviously in the movie, it turns out that there really is a demon possessing this little girl. But I really appreciated that line being in there,
Mm-hmm.
because it does perfectly reflect why we have these superstitions and beliefs, and how demonic possession stories and werewolf stories and witchcraft and all this other stuff, where it just kind of came from a long time ago. And yeah.
Yeah. It's I like that though. That it was modern times. It was 19. It was what 60 years ago or 50 years ago, but it was modern times back then, and like even now. So I'm interested to see what they say about the new movie when that comes out, because it's 50 years later, and they've gone even further with medicine, modern medicine, and mental health and all that different stuff. So I wonder if that's going to play a part in
Yeah.
the believers. Believer. Is it believer or believers? This one, believer. Okay, I like that title, by the way. Um, what do you think about that title? What do you think of the? Let's talk about that for a minute. Let's get into you. You were the first one to see the trailer. What you have any thoughts on this? Are you excited? Just What do you think? I think Seth froze. Are you there?
um Not
There you go.
because of who was one of the and I've mentioned this before. So like I've been skeptical because of that. Seeing the trailer, I have to say the trailer didn't really do anything for me. I like the setup of the story. The two girls that go missing and they're found, and 3 days later, and they have no recollection of it. I think that's an interesting way to start it off, and I think it'll be hopefully there's a good mystery throughout of what happened in those 3 days. But everything else just seemed very sort of generic. The scene where the one little girl goes into the church and she repeats the body and the blood. Um, the whole trope of someone demonically possessed repeating the same phrase over and over. It's just a trope now, and yeah. So the trailer didn't really do anything to impress me, but I'm still going to be there opening weekend with an open mind, and hopefully it's good. I mean, I would want to like it. I mean, even though The Exorcist, the franchise in general isn't really necessarily my wheelhouse, I do like those. I do like the movies. I revisit them every maybe couple years. Besides the third one, which I could probably watch at least once a year. Um, But yeah, what about you? I mean, you seem like you were pretty stoked about the trailer.
I was until you just talked about it. No, no. Um, yeah, I it was like early early parts of it. I was like, and then when Chris McNeil shows up, which when I heard she was coming back, I was like, come on, like why does she have to come back? But I guess because she
Yeah,
wrote a book on it and all that stuff. But when she does arrive and one of the girls just looks at her and says mother, I'm like, ooh, that got me like kind of excited. That's when I got excited. And then the scene where they're like sitting back to back, on chairs and looking. I just there's little things in there that kind of get me hopeful. I'm not that hopeful because it's the same team that gave us Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends, and I'm not a big
yeah.
fan of Halloween Ends.
And the writer of Firestarter.
And Firestar, yes, absolutely, that movie's a piece of shit. But if you can, I think it's on Hulu. Check this out because it's pretty good. The show,
I've been wanting to
uh,
see that.
it's pretty damn good. I think it is anyway.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, and of course you've got Gina Davis, and she is really good in this movie or show. It's I wish they would have been able to finish it because I don't know. I didn't. I like when I found out it was canceled. I stopped watching it, so I got through season one, and I liked that. So I need to go back and maybe finish whatever is there. But I don't. There's probably no ending to it, which would suck. But I'll still watch it. So but anyway, are you ready to reveal your personal rankings? Which is funny. So this is a first for the both of us. Our slash scores, which we do, is it's our percentage scores for each movie, falls in line with exactly how we rank the movies. That's the first time this has ever happened because we
Yeah.
always do the side by side. We don't need the side by side. So this time I'm gonna let you go, and here's Seth's rankings of the Exorcist films.
Yep. So I'm gonna get beat up for this one. Yeah, I really love The Exorcist 3 a lot, and I'm not trying to be an edge lord about it. I'm
You
not
are
trying to
sequel
shit on.
Seth.
Yeah, I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to shit on the original. I do like the original. I think the original is a really good movie. Hence the 90%. But for me, The Exorcist 3 is the one that kind of grabs me more. Like I'm more invested in the story. I like the story better. I like the characters better.
It's a mystery story at the heart of it,
Yes,
really.
yes, absolutely. And I think that's the most intriguing thing for me. And that's what kind of makes me go back to it because I like the mystery. I like the way it unfolds. And, the characters and their banter with each other, I think is really fun. Um, the mystery of the Gemini killer is really cool. And seeing Jason Miller come back and then Brad Dourif on top of that, giving just an incredible performance. I think there's a couple of really great visual uh, horror gags. Arguably, a couple of the best jump scares in horror are in this movie. Um, yeah, so the Exorcist 3 is my personal favorite of the series. To be honest with you, and again, no disrespect to the original or anyone who loves it, because I know it's it's, as you mentioned to me earlier, Ray, it's objectively a class. But yeah, so I really love Exorcist 3, so that's why I rated it higher. The Exorcist comes at number 2, but again, I do really like it. Don't let the scores or the placement of these two kind of piss you off too much because for me they're pretty close. It's just I go towards the third film more than I would go
When I
to
saw this,
watch the
by the way,
original.
I flipped the table.
I
I
watched
punched
the
some
original.
walls.
You went all Kyle. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So um, the original Exorcist is good. It's just it's not one that I rewatch very often. Um, Number 3 is The Exorcist 2 at 50%. Uh, it's not really a great film, to be honest with you. There are a couple things I really like in it. I do like the scene earlier on in the movie where they hooked up Reagan to this machine, and this, what was it? Her lady doctor went with her, and like you see like possessed Reagan,
Yeah,
kind of like when she reaches in to grabs her heart. I thought that was a really cool scene. Um, and I think the third act is pretty wild. I think the third act is pretty entertaining, but
it
it's
is.
like it's super big. It feels a little much, considering the first film. Um, it feels more like a poltergeist type thing, I guess.
I can see that.
But yeah, it's yeah. So yeah, it's got moments that I like, so that's why I definitely have it at number three. Number four is Dominion, 48%. It's the better of the two version of the prequels. It did a really good job, I think, kind of mirroring uh, um, Father Marin's story, sort of similarly to Father Karras in the original, where he's a man who lost his faith. And I do like the backstory of why he lost his faith, the whole thing with
Mhm.
the Nazis. I thought that was pretty cool. I think there's some really good horror elements in it. I think, and it's the whole concept of the prequel is just based on like a line from the original where they mentioned Marin had success or something like that with a kid in Africa, you know. But I don't know if I'd ever. I don't know. I mean, maybe if I decide to marathon these movies again, I'd probably watch it. But I don't know if I'd really go out of my way to watch it. And then last place is The Beginning, which is a movie I was okay with when it first came out in the theater, but after watching Dominion, my opinion of it has gone down a little bit. I don't hate it. It's the fast food version of that prequel story. Um, but I guess it's kind of similar to Justice League, right? Like when
Yeah, kind of.
you know,
Which
when the
it's weird because Rennie Harlan was the director of this one.
yeah, yeah, and it's got some like yeah, that's why I call it like the fast food version because like it's definitely got some like like even the opening scene with all the dead Romans stuff like that. Very visual effect thing more than the character driven side of Dominion.
Yeah.
So there is my rankings, and I am surprised I'm not getting beaten up by this in the comments
No,
today.
actually, Sean agreed with you, Sean Sheridan, which scares me a little bit. Are you guys best friends? I think so.
We're gonna do
Uh,
a hostile takeover.
yeah. I mean, mine aren't really that different. The scores, maybe. Uh, just Exorcist and Exorcist 3 are flip flopped. I gave Exorcist a 98%. There's not much that wrong with it, in my opinion. It's a really well made movie, well casted, well shot. I mean, it's phenomenal. I love this movie. Every time I watch it, I think I like it a little bit more. And yeah, it's damn near perfect. It's damn near on the same level to me as this movie. By the way, are you excited about next week?
Yeah.
As far as The Exorcist 3 goes, when I did this, I had the director's cut, the so-called director's cut, uh, in mind as well when I was doing this because I thought about adding that to my ranking, but the big differences, and we'll talk about it a little bit. Yeah, um, but like the big differences are you get a great performance from Brad Dourif that is almost missing from the final cut, but at the same time, where Brad Dourif and Jason Miller, they go back and forth kind of. I really like that. It kind of is more madness, if you will. And there's a
Yeah.
few other scenes here and there, and they mix things up a little bit, and the ending is so different. Um, so like if I think I did a rating and it was in the 60s for the Legion movie, but I do think Seth and I do think you need to see it because I'm really curious to see what you think of the alternate cut of this movie because it's like you get a lot of great Brad Dourif and he is really good
Yeah.
in the Legion cut. There's some set changes. The scene where they exhume Karras's body is more intact. It's just I wish that's just like Halloween 6. I wish there was like an integral cut where everything was kind of mixed together because you lose a lot of Brad Dourif. And no offense to Miller, he's good, but Brad Dourif was so much better as the Gemini killer, whatever. And the thing I like about the theatrical cut is whenever there's a scene like who do you think you're looking at? I'm looking. I see Damien Karras, and it's in the Legion cut. It's Brad Dourif, but you can see like that's why it's just there's a lot. There's also like scenes missing to where there's a possible other cut. And when I posted this on Facebook for the Horror Syndicate fans, they're like, "Oh, there already is a director's cut." I was like, "No, no, no, you don't understand. The whole opening's different. There's a scene where Kinderman excuse me is right after the end of the original film is examining Karras's body in like a morgue. There's just a lot more to it that it's just gone. It'll just like Friday the 13th with all those cuts. It's gone forever. And fucking Morgan Creek, they should have kept that stuff because it would have made for a very interesting cut. And then the end of the Exorcist 3, the Legion cut anyway, we get that wild fucking exorcism scene at the end of the regular cut. This movie, it just abruptly ends, and that's it. Basically, Kinderman goes. You want to know what the ending is? You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for anybody
Yeah.
who has not seen the Legion cut of The Exorcist. It should just be called an assembly cut because that's what it is. So Kinderman goes back into uh, um, what do they call him? Patient X's room, and he tells the nurse to lock the door behind him, and you hear a gunshot. That's it. It ends. He shoots Patient X in the head, and yeah, that's the end of the movie. I was like, that was it, you
Ain't
know.
that kind of
And apparently, Blatty said that there was no theatrical ending to his story in the book. It was a prose ending, not a theatrical ending, which I don't understand what that even means. But a prose is a prose. I don't know how to say it. So that's why that ended. That's why they added the exorcism. It made sense. The exorcism was batshit crazy, and I think they added another $4 million onto the reshoots for that. So, and the set, they also changed the set, and added Jason Miller, and then also if you watch the trailer of The Exorcist 3, there are scenes cut out of the trailer that are in the trailer that are cut out of the final cut. So there's a lot to it. It pisses me off that like this day and age, they can go back and fix that stuff. If like the Justice League you mentioned earlier, they completely fixed that. It's like and they did the same thing with Halloween 6, which was only 5 years after. It's like fuck Morgan Creek. Can we just get this? Like, where are the prints? Let's get the full cut. I'll watch a 3 hour Exorcist 3. I don't fucking care. I'd love to. I'm sure you'd love to.
I would. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would.
So I like The Exorcist 3 quite a bit. This is one of my two of my top five jump scares of all time. Of course, we know it's the nun or whatever the fuck it is with the scissor things, and one
Yeah.
of my other ones is from Mario Bava's final film Shock. If you've not seen that, that has one of the best jump scares of all time, if not the best. It actually made me jump as a 42-year-old. So anyway, I love The Exorcist 2. I watched it one day. I think it was Labor Day or something a couple years ago, or longer than that. And I was like, man, why does everybody hate this movie? It's fucking nuts. And again, this is a situation where you have multiple directors because the John Borman he got sick really bad while shooting. I think the scenes in Africa. Well, it wasn't Africa, but it was supposed to be Africa, and he got replaced. And they tacked on an exorcism scene again, which wasn't supposed to be in the movie. And Linda Blair even said that they everybody loved the script, and the movie they shot was not what they the script they signed on for. So it's like, and she said they shot other things. It's like, where's that? What the fuck is wrong with? I think this is Warner Brothers at this point. Like, what
Yeah.
is wrong with Warner Brothers for real? They're fucked up, man. They can't get their shit together still. 50 years later, almost 50 years later. I no, that's not. I don't like all the
Well,
bad.
it's like,
This one. What were you saying?
oh, Warner Brothers. I mean, even had that problem in the '70s and early '80s with Superman, too.
That's right.
Richard
Yeah.
Donner shot a lot of stuff for it, and then he left, and
Yeah.
they brought in someone else, and
Yep.
then we were
Uh,
eventually able to get like an assembly cut of Donner's film, which I prefer.
yeah, I do too. Um, so the this is one of the 50 worst films period ever made. It's number two. I don't. I think that's. I mean, I've seen some bullshit, but this to be number two. Come on. Uh, um, Ed Wood's Plan 9 from Outer Space
No,
is number one. Again, I don't
it's
believe
not
that.
like it's whoever comes up with those lists needs to actually watch more movies, because The Exorcist 2 may be bad, but there is a shitload of shit out there.
A shitload of shit. That's
Like
true.
what was it? Reading, I was reading some comments on when you shared my Spiral review,
Yeah.
and people saying it's the worst movie they've ever seen. Like, it must not have seen very many movies.
There's also Birdemic, like that, or the Rubber movie, where it's about a killer tire. There's some really bad movies out there. There's no way that
Yeah,
this is one of the worst. I think this is a
yeah,
misunderstood movie, and it's also it's the follow up to The Exorcist, which is arguably one of the greatest horror movies ever made, and one of the scariest movies ever made. How do you follow that up? You know,
yeah.
so I don't know. I like The Exorcist too. I You're gonna hate it, Sean, if you watch it, but give it a shot. You never know, and keep some of the things I said in mind. They didn't shoot they did the finished product was not the script they were supposed to shoot in. When Borman got sick, they brought in another director, and I think that's when Warner Brothers or whoever the studio was, I think it was Warner Brothers, stepped in and said, "Hey,
It was
let's do
Warner.
some things," and they did. And the other guy didn't even get credit for directing it. Yeah, it was Warner Brothers. Um, yeah, it's like once the studio interference happens, it's the movie's going to be a piece of shit generally. Look at Justice League again. Anyway, I like the Minion
Yeah,
more than I like the beginning. Check out thehorrorsyndicate.com for the whole breakdown of what happened between those two movies. I'll say that uh, beginning's really boring. The only thing it has going for it is Isabella Scorupco is enchanting. So yeah, there it is. And now, of course, we do have our uh, combined rankings, and here again is our our follower rankings and ratings. Not too far off from what we have done. So um, pretty close, I'd say, with the exception of your Exorcist 3, I'd say. So anyway, coming in dead last between the two of us is the beginning, and there she is, Isabella. Um, a movie that probably should have never been made twice was made twice, and this is the lesser of the two. I don't think any of the jump scares or any of the extra blood or whatever that was they did, or hiring she's a little bit more well known than Sarah from the Dominion, but I don't know. This one just kind of falls flat. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that.
Yeah. So 44% between the two of us, leading us to Dominion, which gets a rousing 48%, which looks like Nicholas Holt is breathing down Father Maron's neck there. It's not Nicholas Holt, but it looks like him. That is the demon Pazuzu. I like Dominion overall better than, but either way, I think The Exorcist should have never had a prequel. I like the mystery of what Father Maron went through, and we see some of it in the remake. I mean, the remake in two.
Yeah, I
I
I,
hope.
I agree. Once again, I think it's the more character oriented of the two. I like Skarsgård as Father Marin.
Mhm.
Um,
Let me ask you this
there was
about
like I
Skarsgård.
was watching when I was watching. What's up?
Let me ask you this about Skarsgård. Do you think that when he was making the beginning, it felt more like he phoned it in because he had already done all this before?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of got that impression that it just seemed like he wasn't really taking it as seriously. I mean, he was still giving it, you know, giving it his all a decent performance. Maybe it was just the new material he had to work with, but there was more of a seriousness to Dominion, and there's more of a
Hmm.
seriousness with this character.
Yeah, I think this it came out stale in the beginning. Anything else you want to say about this one?
Just like you, I don't think a prequel was necessary, um, and yeah, I think just overall it just didn't captivate me like.
The prequels were unnecessary, but they're there and mostly forgettable. So moving on, in the third spot is obviously it's going to be The Exorcist II, The Heretic. I don't know why I like it, but I like it. I love the batshit crazy trailer. I want everyone who watches this to go back and watch the trailer on YouTube and just sit back. And the music is crazy. James Earl Jones wears like a fucking cricket costume in this movie. You get Louise Fletcher from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest as her doctor in this. There's a scene that was all practical effects where Linda Blair is on this high rise apartment at the very edge of the building outside, like, and the wind's blowing and everything. I mean, that was legit shot. It was no stunt people, no effects. It was she was on that fucking building, and like that the wind would have blown wrong, she could have fallen off. Great scene too. It's like a sleepwalk scene, and Linda Blair was a little bit better in this one, I thought, also, because of course she had a lot of her stuff was redubbed dialogue wise by that was it Eileen Dietz also body doubled her, I believe. So Linda Blair, she was good in this one. I like this. I like this movie. Seth.
Yeah, I mean, I could see why you like it. I don't think it's great. That I think it's got some good stuff in it. I just think, and who knows, maybe we missed out on having a really good version of this story because of some behind the scenes stuff. I don't know. 'Cause there are elements to it that are fairly solid, but like I mentioned earlier, just the third act I think is really cool, but it feels like more fit in for a poltergeist movie than an Exorcist movie.
Yeah,
But again, this is not the worst movie ever made, and anyone who says that needs to watch more movies. Get the
they
fuck
need
off
to
my lawn.
watch. They need to watch Birdemic.
Yeah. Werewolf
Crisis
Castle.
of Faith, Story and Dominion sounds more for me, and it. There you go. Give it a shot. It's worth watching. And then coming in number two is Exorcist III, and The Exorcist III is worthy of a score like this, even though I did score it a little bit lower. This is a good fucking movie overall. Great mystery to it. Some really great acting. I said to Seth earlier, I was like, how did Kinderman not have a fucking heart attack like 5 times on set? He's yelling all the time. like, like how did he not like die? But I will say one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie is most of the stuff between him and Father Dyer are fantastic. And it's all
Yeah,
in there in
definitely.
the Legion cut. But I like the idea of the carp, the soul story of the carp. And he's like, "Can't you smell me? I haven't showered or I haven't bathed in 3 days or something like that." I really love some of those little moments that Kinderman and Dyer have. They're like best friends. The one thing I don't like about The Exorcist 3, and it's more so evident in the Legion cut, is they make it sound like Kinderman and Karras were like great friends, and they only knew each other for a couple of days, if that, which really bums me out that they kind of went that route. Father Dyer, on the other hand, was a good friend of Karras. So anyway, now you.
Yeah, so this is my favorite one of the series, but I think it works really well as a sequel, because it's like it's not like a sequel that just repeats the same thing over again. It takes the surviving characters of Kinnaman and Dyer and puts them in a whole different situation, but it's also kind of connected. Um, I love this film quite a bit. It's the one I do go to rewatch more often. Um, the mystery, the characters, the dialogue, some of the visuals, some of the horror elements, I think are just fantastic. And Brad Dourif is also great, and I really need to see that work print version if there's more Dourif in it.
There is. There is no Miller. It's all Dorff, and he is creepy. I mean, this is.
Yeah,
I mean, if you think his performance is great in the theatrical cut, the worst part about the work print or the assembly cut, as I'm calling it, is it looks like it is VHS quality, so it goes back and forth, and
yeah,
you get used to it after a while. But like, you do get like almost everything that's added. There's some things added with Kinderman and his family, which I liked, because actually one of my favorite scenes is when the nurse comes to visit. Um,
oh, that's amazing.
that's such a good scene, and like
Yeah, it
my
is.
kids, they were watching it, and when his daughter gets pulled away by her hair, like they're like, "Oh my god, we had to pause it," and you see, like, honestly, if that shit snapped, she's done, you know.
Yeah,
So there's some great scenes in this movie, not just the classic jump scare that everybody knows. That's a great scene for sure. Especially the way it's set up, because it's the camera's
yeah,
essentially just pointing down the hallway, and you get 2 jump scares in one scene. So it's just set up beautifully, and it got me the first like few times I saw this movie. Uh, God, Exorcist 3 is a great mystery movie, and there's some great stuff in it. Great filmmaking by Blatty, who wrote the story for Legion.
yeah. There's also that scene too where the lady crawling on the roof. I thought that was really
Oh
cool.
yeah, yeah. I like the scene where he says he's the radio repairman, and she's like, "You're obviously
Mhm.
not a repairman. This is a telephone I'm holding," and there's nothing there, of course. Sean,
Yeah,
I hope it wasn't too expensive, man. You're probably gonna be mad. Oh, but you should have just given me the money and let me kick you in the nuts. Um. Anyway, so yeah. Anything else you want to say about the Exorcist 3 Legion?
no.
Have you read the book?
I read about half of it like a long time ago. I actually borrowed it from one of my ex girlfriend's fathers,
Mm.
but of course we split up, and I made sure to give the book back. Um, so I think when we do cover these again individually after David Gordon Green's trilogy comes to an end, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the book and also watch the alternate cut of this, just kind of really dive into it.
Yeah, I think for a fan of Exorcist III the way you are, I definitely think you need to have the Scream Factory. The one thing that bums me out about the Scream Factory is there is an Arrow version released in the UK that has a whole like behind the scenes making of that's not on the Scream Factory. So, and I love the cover art on it. It's better than the Joel Robinson cover art that we got. But
Does the Arrow one have the alternate version as well on it,
yeah,
or is that strictly Screen Factory? Oh, it does.
hmm
Might have to
yeah.
get the Arrow version.
If you can get it, let me know because I would definitely rebuy it. I haven't looked into it yet. Actually, I'll look at it right now while we talk about the first movie. 93% for the first movie. Um, you gave it a 90%, which is pretty good. What do you think of this score? I know it's like an uptick because of me, but I think it's worthy. What do you think?
I think it's totally worthy of that score. It's, as you said, objectively a good horror film. That's just a fact. Um, my issues with it are just very minimal and
There's the
more
cover
of a
art.
me problem. That is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you said, this is not. Hey, there's only one left in stock. Who's going to get it? Um, I don't know. This is one that I've always loved. Oh yeah, the Scream Factory has a 4K edition with the Blu-ray also. That's just coming out. I think it might. Let's see. It's got a 2022 4K scan, deleted scenes. There we go. Alternate takes, bloopers. This I don't think is on the version I've got. Theater response, and it does have a featuring this. Get this the 4K because it's got the Death Be Not Proud, the making of the Exorcist 3 feature length 5 chapter documentary. Damn it, damn it to hell! And it's got William Peter Blatty's director's cut Legion assembled from the intro, positive, and select scenes from the VHS dailies approved by William Peter Blatty, and he does a commentary on it. So that's the one to get. Get the Scream Factory 4K, and I might do the same thing because it's worth it. It sucks because I just got the Blu-ray this year, and they come out with that, or last year. Fucking Scream Factory always want to take my money. They should, you know what? They should give that to me for free because I posted that damn Night of the Demons 1, 2, and 3 thing on our website, and it blew up. Like I bet they got a bunch of pre-orders thanks to the Horror Syndicate. It's like, hey, where's the thanks, Scream Factory? I've given you thousands of dollars and you give me nothing. You indict me.
Yeah, I saw that article did pretty well, huh?
Yeah, it's not. I barely did. I just saw. I was like, oh, this is interesting, and I put it up on the website real fast. Like it took me 5 minutes, and yeah, it's the last 2 days. It's gotten like 1,300 views. Yeah, really random and bizarre. I mean, I was prepping this other article, my top 25 of the 2000s, and it's done well, almost 400 views in the last 2 days, but not like this fucking this Scream Factory announcement that basically was a copy and paste job. I'm glad that those three movies are coming out. I have 1 and 2 on Blu-ray, but the third one I've never even seen. I have watched The Room with Tommy Wiseau. That is worse than The Exorcist 2. Um, I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark. Yeah, that movie's garbage. I like The Exorcist too. Man, watch the trailer for real. So anyway, Seth, is there anything else we want to get to? Oh, no. Well, maybe not. Looks like he's gonna disappear. I'll give him a couple seconds. I have to call GoDaddy after the show and find out what the fuck's going on the website. The website's working. It's acting like an asshole. I updated something and it's I can't get in to change things now. Anyway, so there's our rankings. I don't know what happened with Seth. Um, I'm just gonna say I'm gonna remove him, and you can see my big face. So check out the Exorcist show. I believe it's still streaming on, uh, I think Hulu. I'm checking right now, but it's definitely worth the watch. Yeah, it's on Hulu still. I liked it. I did not get to see all of it, but what I liked, the first season was pretty damn good. If you get the chance, check out Dominion. It's better than the beginning, and it's also streaming in different places where the beginning is not streaming anywhere. What the fuck? Stupid. And Exorcist 3 is awesome. Exorcist 2 is batshit crazy, and I like it. I will say this picture of Linda Blair on the cover here, she looks much older than she does in the movie. She looks like a 16-year-old child in the movie, which I think she might actually be. She's pretty damn young in the movie. Seth, how are you?
Doing wonderful.
By the way, I forgot to mention. Actually, she's 18. The Exorcist 2 also has James Earl Jones, released in 1977. Can you name the other big movie that James Earl Jones was in 1977? It came out almost a month
Yeah, it
before The
was
Heretic.
Star Trek.
Ah!
Yeah, Star Trek 4, the
Voyage Home.
A New Hope.
Yeah, so yeah, James Earl Jones did a voice in Star Wars, which came out a month before this, and then he was in this. He actually plays the boy who was possessed, that Father Marin nearly died exorcising him back in the 40s. And then, of course, The Exorcist. So check them all out. We've got about 2.5 months till the release of the new film, which I'm really looking forward to seeing. I'm Seth. I'm going to tell you, I'm going in expecting to be disappointed because I've seen Halloween Ends and I've seen Halloween Kills. Of course, Halloween Kills is growing on me, but
Yeah.
we're gonna have to find the time to
Well,
talk
I
about
hope
that.
it's at least entertaining, right? Because yeah. Well, because I like Halloween Kills, even though the script was garbage.
Mm.
So hopefully, if the script is garbage for this one, at least it's entertaining. We'll see.
And we've talked about it. Halloween Kills is growing on me. I haven't watched Halloween Ends since the last time we talked about Halloween in October, I guess. But next week we are starting our trip down the through the Halloween series. How excited are you that we are starting to talk about the Halloween movies for the next 2.5, almost 3 months?
Yeah, uh, fairly excited for it. I've been in a Halloween mood lately, so
So excited you're speechless. Well, I know I saw that you added a new cover photo for your Facebook page, and it just happened to be the opening title card for Halloween 4, which is beautiful.
yeah, it looks like the weather's been a little bit cooler the last couple
Mm.
days here, and like I don't know, for some reason, like my mind just like went to like fall, and like just all of a sudden I was on my lunch break. I'm like, I'm gonna find that Halloween 4 title card and put that up as my Facebook thing.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love that's. I mean, the iconic opening of Halloween is great with the credits and everything like that. But man, it's followed closely by Halloween 4's opening credits. They're so great. They set the atmosphere and the tone of the movie immediately, and we get a very good Halloween sequel. So
Yeah.
starting next Wednesday, we are talking about Halloween Ends. We're going backwards. So we're doing Ends, Kills, and then 2018 for the next, I guess, the finish August, and then we'll go into the Rob Zombie movies in one show, and then Resurrection, H2O, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then on Halloween, 2023, we are doing a Halloween ranking episode. So it's a Tuesday, but mark that on your calendars. We will be ranking all 13 Halloween films. It's going to be exciting. I'm excited.
It should be fun.
Hey, 6 is awesome. Come on. And then on Discourse coming up on Sunday, we are talking about Predator. So that'll be fun. One of the funnest movies, coolest movies of the 80s for sure. You got these badasses here. So that'll be our next Discourse show on Sunday at 8 p.m. Central. Uh, Probably like 1 in the morning for Sean. 2 in the morning, I don't know. What time is it, Sean, where you are? I can tell from then. Anyway, anything else you want to talk about The Exorcist before we go?
No, I think I've said my piece. Yeah, it's an okay series.
Yeah, I think that's about the best you're gonna get with the series. Is it's okay. Unfortunately, it's got two
Yeah.
really. It's 3 in the morning, so 2 in the morning. So it's 2 in the morning in the UK. It's got two really good entries. One that I like, but I know it's bad. I'm aware that it's not a good movie. It's really not, but I like it for some reason. But the other two are bad, and then hopefully, and I say this a lot. I hope that somehow the new one makes the older ones look better for some reason. I have no idea if they're skipping over them or what they're going to do. So I'm excited for a new chapter in The Exorcist. I think it's high time. It's 50 years since
Oh,
the original movie came out.
I mean, David Gordon Green did say that they're not skipping over the sequels. I don't think
We'll
they're going to
see.
draw emphasis on them.
Yeah, but
So
I
we'll
don't
see.
trust that guy. I don't trust that guy. Not at
Fucking
all.
David Gordon Green.
David Gordon Green. I mean, his movies were one line away from being just more sequels to the Halloween movies. Like if there wasn't that throwaway line in 2018, then Michael Myers still could have been Laurie Strode's brother. Just saying, there's not that much of a difference to me. I mean, he straight up isn't really going after her like she thinks, but that throwaway line just changes everything. It's whatever. We'll
I
get into
mean,
those.
I get what they. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say something about
Go ahead, say it.
Halloween.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna, I was just gonna say, and I think I mentioned this on one of our shows before. Like, I understand why they brought Jamie Lee Curtis back, but I think they should have fully committed to their idea where it was a random, wrong place, wrong time thing with Laurie Strode, and I think they should have just not had her be in the new trilogy. Just have it be, you know, Michael going after someone else. He escapes, goes home, finds a new target.
Yeah, I think that would have been good. It would have been good. I mean, I don't know. It just the way this ended and the way things are, it just makes me wonder what they're doing next. That's my biggest question with Halloween. We're 5 years away from the 50th anniversary, which I still predict will be the next time a Halloween movie comes. But we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to talking
Well,
about them, starting with Halloween
there's
Ends.
a there's been some persistent rumors lately that um, Mal Kakad has been working on Halloween stuff since 2022, and that there's going to be some sort of announcements coming out of Halloween 45-year anniversary convention. So there may be something coming up soon.
October probably.
Again, rumors.
Maybe we'll
Yeah,
finally get that
but it
Halloween.
would make sense.
We'll get that Halloween
As I said,
9.
it would make sense. Sorry, go ahead,
Anything
man.
going? You know what I'm talking about? The girl who won the contest that showed her tits in the whatchamacallit. Not that I'm complaining.
Yeah, she won a role in Rob Zombie's Halloween, which I think worked out wonderfully for her. She should
Yeah,
have won an Academy Award.
she wasn't in it, was she?
No.
No, she showed her tits for no reason. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd like to meet her, but no. Yeah, that's coming up in October. Sean Clark actually teased today. You'll not believe a certain guest is coming, and I'm like, who could it be that would blow everybody away? That would be coming. John Carpenter. That's the only guy I could think of that would blow everybody away because Jamie Lee Curtis has done a couple of these. She was there last year, I think. That's when her and Danielle Harris and they got that picture and
Oh yeah.
she had no idea who they were. And the memes came out. Here's Jamie Lee Curtis with some Halloween fans, and it was the remake Lori and her daughter essentially, and somebody else. Was
Oh
it
yeah.
Heather
I
Langenkamp?
remember that.
And yeah, it doesn't matter. Michael Myers is going to live on forever. Every few years, we're going to get a movie. I mean, think about since 1978, 45 years, we've gotten 13 movies, and that's essentially like an average of a movie every 3 years. So by the time a new Halloween comes out,
It's the bread and butter for. I'm sorry.
no, it's
It's the
okay.
bread and butter for the Cod family.
Yeah, I mean, it literally is. And so, I mean, if not 2020, you know what will piss me off is if they release it in 2027. Because like I think they'd be on track for either 2026 or 2027 release. Because well, maybe 2025. It probably doesn't take that long to make these movies.
The most recent rumor thing suggested that it could quite possibly be a TV show, which I hope
Fuck that.
not.
What is his
Because
obsession with TV shows? Marvel's failing with their TV shows. Let's fucking stop doing this. Star Wars is too. They're failing. People want to see theatrical releases.
it's the same thing with Chucky. Like it started off really good, but then it overstayed its welcome. And I wish that Don Mancini would just go back to doing like movies. Just do a hour and a half movie, like because the long form storytelling with the TV series is just not working for me. But we'll see. I mean, again,
I'm gonna make a bold
those
statement.
are just
If they make
rumors.
if it's a fucking TV series, I'm not watching it. I'm telling you right now, I will not watch it. I have zero like interest in watching the Chucky show. Zero. I don't want to watch it at all. They started a good thing by bringing Curse of Chucky and Cult of Chucky. I'm like, yes, these are good. Let's make another one. Nope, we're gonna do a TV show.
And they completely ruined the storyline that they started with Curse. They
That's
completely destroyed it.
awesome.
And yeah.
I mean, they could fix that by making another movie that takes place immediately after that and saying that the show doesn't count. So,
Yeah, well, they did something to the Nika character that kind of pissed me off.
they can retro that shit. I'm sure if they really wanted to. I just wish that they'd stop with this show bullshit. There's gonna be a Friday the 13th show. How about a Halloween show? The only character that I think could carry a show, two. I think Hellraiser could do a show, and I think Freddy could do a show. I don't Halloween show for real. Come on, Friday the 13th. Those are set on specific days, and you want to make a whole fucking series out of it? Get the fuck out of here with that shit. Oh my god, they go back to that. That's the
Yeah.
worst movie of the whole series.
Season 1 is really good until the final episode, and the final episode is total horseshit. And then yeah, season 2 is terrible. But surprisingly, I'll just say an element from Seed of Chucky is in season 2, and it's actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be. But like they went, like it's like Don Mancini had a good thing with Curse and Cult, where he was bringing it back to the more horror roots, and then with the Chucky show, I mean, eventually he started to get back to the goofy roots, and it's overstaying its welcome, in my opinion.
Is it coming back for season 3?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think this October.
Well, as long as people watch it, it'll stick around. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's like dealing with a baseball team that's really bad. As long as people still go to the games, they're not gonna change anything. So
Yeah.
I don't ever want to see a Halloween series or a Friday the 13th series. The only acceptable answer to a Friday the 13th series is a prequel, nothing with Jason as the killer. That's how I feel. Anyway, so that's it for us tonight. Come back on Sunday as we talk about the Predator, or just Predator, because there is a The Predator, and there's Predators, and Predator 2. Talk about a series with dumb fucking titles. I'm sorry, but like Predator, Predator 2, Predators, The Predator, come on. Get get bent, as somebody said to me about some baseball bullshit. And then next Sunday, Halloween ends. We're starting our Halloween-a-thon, so we can get 13 movies ranked by the end of October. So anyway, that's all I got. That's all Seth is going to have because you know what they say about Seth, right? Do you know what they say about Seth, Seth?
An asshole. An asshole.
That he's an asshole.
He's an asshole.
An asshole. An asshole. An asshole. An asshole. An asshole.
All right.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all we got for the night. You guys have a great night, great weekend. We'll see you on Sunday. If we don't see you on Sunday, we'll see you on Wednesday.